Hey guys, so this is going to be how to write your abstract, which right now it says coming soon, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom, we have what your abstract should look like. Notice that it's an abbreviated version of your entire report, limited to a maximum of 250 words. 250 words goes pretty quick. It sounds like a lot, but really, if you're doing kind of a summary of what you've done, it probably will fill up pretty quick. So it's actually shorter than you might think. We want to be to the point with it, but it should state the main objective and rationale of your project. So in this case, your objective was to design and implement an experiment and then write a lab report about it. So you basically were given the task to determine which paper airplane was best out of 3. So that's kind of the objective. Put that in your own words and make it happen. Then it should outline the methods you use to accomplish your objectives. So basically you gathered 3 planes from a website, or you folded 3 planes from a website, and then through those planes and recorded averages of multiple flights, and then compared those averages. You then found that plane A flew 20 meters further than plane B, and therefore plane A was the best. What this means going forward is really kind of from a standpoint of you being able to design experiments. You hopefully now feel a little bit more comfortable with designing and implementing and writing about or recording about your experiments. And then from the experiment itself, the implications of this project are that you could then take this further to determine the paper airplane that is the best, like what is making it the best. So then you could start to experiment with different types of folds or types of paper or types of, like basically you could go further with this research. I'm not looking for necessarily that on this. I'm looking for kind of what the whole process helped you do. So more look at it from the aspect of this was to help you design an experiment, and become more familiar with designing and carrying out your own experiments, because it's going to happen again down the road. So you want to be relatively familiar with it. So hopefully that's kind of what happened there. So again, 250 words. I probably just said like 500. So narrow it down. It should be pretty simple. But if you tackle these main things here, then you should be good to go. So that would be your abstract. I'm going to go ahead and cover your conclusion here as well, just because I think it'll be quick enough. So last time we got our analyzed data stuff, our data analysis done. So now what we're going to do is talk about our conclusion. So in our conclusion, we're going to restate the problem or hypothesis. So again, we're restating that planes, Coach Tro wanted us to determine which of 3 planes is the best. We decided that best was the one that went furthest. So we designed an experiment to determine which plane flew the furthest, which would then suggest which plane is the best, something to that effect. We found that, so notice I'm going on here, watch me as I'm highlighting. We found that, or the experiment determined that, because we don't want to use pronouns, the experiment or the results found that plane A traveled 15 feet further than plane B and 12 feet further than plane C. Therefore, plane A travels the furthest, suggesting that it is the best plane, which is also in this case what it means. What did you learn? Hopefully, I'll leave that up to you, but hopefully you learned kind of how to design and implement an experiment, and then hopefully you learned a little bit about how to properly record your experiment as well. But I'll leave that up to you. You can also, if you want to, you can talk about what did you learn about the airplanes if you really want to, but I don't necessarily need that. Interpret the results in light of the introduction is basically what we did there. So you found out in the introduction you should have talked about how you defined best and things like that, and then now you're interpreting those results. So really that is, what does it mean? Then what went wrong? If you had anything that, if you actually threw the airplanes and anything was wrong about how you did something, then now would be the time to bring that up. If you only recorded one set of data for each plane, so threw them once each, now is where you would talk about that. If nothing went wrong, then don't talk about it right now. If you want to talk about this from the aspect of what went wrong with, or what was difficult with you designing and implementing the lab, feel free to talk about that there as well. This is kind of a lab about how to do a lab, so if you have feelings here about it, maybe that's a good place to talk about it. What improvements could have been made aside from being virtual and Coach Tro trying to give you a bunch of long-winded instructional videos. What improvements could you have made? Usually this is what could have been done in the experiment to improve it. So it might have been more throws or a more accurate throwing device, something like that. If you want to talk about improvements to the actual lab itself, like what you were supposed to learn kind of stuff, feel free to talk about that too if you want to share your feelings. And then what new questions have arisen from the experiment? This would be more from the plane aspect, or even from the us designing an experiment aspect. So, are you going to be doing this throughout the rest of the year? I'll answer that for you, yes. But I'll hold your hand still a little bit on it. Then real-world application. Why is this experiment relevant or important? The paper airplane one probably isn't terribly important, but hopefully you're designing it with something that is pretty easy to follow. Helps you do it when things aren't going to be maybe as easy to follow, or you have to make certain experimental choices yourself. Hopefully this has given you a little bit more confidence to do that. So your conclusion is a little bit weird this time. It's not necessarily as based on the experiment itself. It's more based on the process of the experiment, if that makes sense. If you feel uncomfortable with talking about the process of the experiment, then by all means try to relate it just strictly to the paper airplane experiment. But feel free to share your feelings about how you've progressed through designing an experiment. For references, if you did grab anything off of any websites, you might want to post that in here. I think I already put references up here for you in the format that, so I did the Fold and Fly paper airplane website that we went to. So that's the main reference that we used here. If you used anything else, so that should be enough information for you to write your abstract and conclusion. Get busy on it. If you have questions, the numbers due next Friday, so you've got some time to work on it. But if you have any questions, we got some Teams meetings going on. Get into those, ask questions, or email me,